Want to learn how to take your teaching skills to the next level and want to know why some of your students are struggling no matter what you do? That's what this video is all about. Stay tuned at the very end of this video and you will learn how you can win $1,000 for writing one lesson plan. Welcome to Leaf Academy. If you're new to this channel, my name is D. Scott Schwartz. I'm a former teacher, principal, and superintendent. If you are a teacher or want to become one, please hit the subscribe button because this is the #1 place for tested and proven teacher techniques. You will not find these secrets in a textbook or college class. Before we begin, these are the supplies you will need: a pen and paper to take notes. And there is a lesson plan template in the description section below. You can download and follow along. Ready? Great. What is the lesson objective of this video? To illustrate how a 22nd century lesson plan can help every student learn in your class. Why do you need to know this? Because if one student fails your class, that's on you. Students need to be inspired, and that is your job. This may be a new theory to you, but I have been teaching this theory since 2012. And nearly 5,000 educators in New Jersey have attended my workshops, coaching sessions, and after-school academies. How will you know if you understand this theory? As your teacher, I'm looking for that aha moment. I don't know exactly when it will come, but I know it will make sense before the end of this video. It will be a huge favor if you could put in the comments below the time code of when that aha moment happened for you. That way I can go back and see the moments that made the most sense. And the last question, what will you create? This is easy. This video is going to show you how to write one advanced 22nd century lesson plan from beginning to end. Ready? Good. Let's look at the lesson plan template. I want you to notice there are 2 sections. This is intentional. Section 1 has 2 elements, the lesson objective and lesson activities. That is it. I like to use real-world examples. I find they help illustrate things better. I happen to be a former social studies teacher, so my example will be in social studies, but this theory works for math, science, English, art, PE, any subject. The example I'm going to choose is the 19th Amendment. This summer marked the 100-year anniversary of the adoption of the 19th Amendment, so I think it's really timely. Let's go through our progression. Now take notes. This is the formula I want you to follow. We need to build and develop the objective and activities first. How can we do that? We're going to ask 3 questions and 3 C's. So on a piece of paper, I want you to make 2 columns. At the top of the left column, write 3 questions. And the top of the right column, write 3 C's. Let's do the first column on the right. Why, how, and what. Great job. Now let's write these 3 words on the right column. Creativity, collaboration, and communication. Great. This is how you should set up section 1 every single time you lesson plan. The more you practice this technique, the less you need to write it out. Like, I can do all of this in my head, but for you, use this method of 2 columns and write it out. I have already chosen my topic, the 19th Amendment, but if you were starting from scratch, once you outline the paper with 2 columns, choose your topic. That is why this applies to every subject. If you were teaching science, you could say kinetic energy. In math, multiplication or order of operations. Making sense now? My topic is the 19th Amendment, so I want to apply my topic to the 3 questions first. The why. I will write down why do students need to know about the 19th Amendment. The how. I will write down how will the student know when they understand the 19th Amendment. The what. I will write down what will the students create from the activities related to the 19th Amendment. Pretty simple, right? At this point, we have outlined this whole lesson. Now let's dive into the 3 C's. First, creativity. How can we make this lesson creative for the students? For me, when I teach social studies, I'm always thinking, how can students live in that time frame? How can we travel back in time? So I want students to read about what life was like. I want them to read firsthand accounts, diaries and journals from people during that time. I want to see if I can make the history alive, just like they would be reading a blog from a celebrity today. Next, collaboration. How can I have students interact with each other? This lesson is easy for me to accomplish that. I would divide the class into 3 separate groups. One group is the government group, the second is the suffrage group, and the third is the average citizens group. Last, communication. How will students express and communicate to the class and to me, the teacher, what they are learning and what they understood? I want to make this clear. This is second nature to me. So I apologize if I'm going too fast. Leave a comment if you have any questions. I will answer them in the comments, so leave them there. But for me, I want the students to write a speech from the perspective of the group that they're in. This can be an individual assignment or group project depending on the grade level or skill level of my students. That's a teacher choice. I also can assign a communication assignment such as a poster, video, verbal speech, debate, or PowerPoint presentation. I would love some class speeches, but that can also be optional. Now that we've finished the 3 C's, let's double check our questions. The why. Have we outlined why students need to know the 19th Amendment? No, we haven't really gone over that yet. So let's add to the creative section that each group needs to argue over the 19th Amendment. The only group in favor is the suffrage group, which means the other 2 groups need to find reasons why the 19th Amendment is a bad idea. I think this will help students understand how difficult it is to change people and society's minds. Maybe I can help the students understand the turning points in the 19th Amendment movement. Where did history change course and decide it was a good idea? The how. I think we just developed the how with that last add-on. If the students know when history changed, they should understand how they can come to the same conclusion. And the what. Yes, we definitely have the what the students will create. We have group speeches, a presentation project as well. I think we have that covered. So I think we finished section 1 and it looks pretty good. What do you think? If you're writing your own lesson plan along with me, did you finish also? Did you answer all 3 questions? If not, and you have a question, put it in the comments section below. At this point, we are ready to move on to section number 2. And all the elements in section 2 support section 1. They tie directly back to section 1. Section 2, I find it easier to do, although it might take as long because this is where the nuts and bolts work get done. Section 1 is all the main idea and the intellectual part. Now we get into the nitty-gritty of how a lesson plan gets built in section 2. Think about the supplies, materials the students will need. For this lesson, I need a lot of reading materials. I need diaries, entries, autobiographies, journals from people from pre-suffrage, during suffrage, and post-suffrage. I need newspaper articles and magazine articles. I need historical pamphlets. I might even need the convention posters. I need a lot of artifacts from the time period. Maybe U.S. Senate speeches from government officials or even the president's own words and speeches would be helpful. Making sense? I want to think about all the materials I will need to make this lesson come alive for my students. Next, let's think about assessment. Of course, I want to have a quiz and a test for this unit. Maybe I also want a writing rubric for any writing assignments. But I want to think about assessment in a different way. I want to answer the question, how will the students know when they understand? Yes, I want the student to self-assess their own learning. I want them to be more a teacher than a student at this point. And I want to help them be their own teacher. So what types of formative assessment strategies can I use to help the student self-assess? In some cases, I can create a rubric that I give the students before the unit begins. Or if I structure all of my lessons the same way, I can have a student rubric they use for every single topic because they are so familiar with it. It's part of my class routine that students self-assess. They begin to do it on their own. The goal is to make the student more personally responsible and interested in meeting their own learning goals. I think I'm ready to move on to the modification. Here is where I need to explain what I have already done. So I have 20 years experience with the most underserved and special needs students. For me, this is all second nature, but I want to help you start to see what I just did naturally. My lesson is already modified. How? I divided the class into 3 groups. That means that I have structured this class into small group instruction. That follows most IEPs without an issue. Therefore, I don't have to add much here. I would probably include a graphic organizer that includes the names, dates, and turning points in the history. I would give this to the students when we bring it back to the whole class. I would also have it pre-filled out. I find that students who have to fill out their own graphic organizers, 1, it's a huge waste of class time, and 2, I don't want them to have the wrong information. Unless you are teaching note-taking, giving students blank graphic organizers is something I would advise against doing. That brings us to the next element called classroom environment. So what does that mean? You've been following me great so far. One of the reasons you are able to follow is because I am slowing down enough to make each point. I'm going fast, but not too fast. And if I was teaching you directly, you would have opportunities to ask me questions. Did you notice that I asked you to write questions in the comments section several times? Typically, those moments would be for checking for understanding. Since this is digital, I need you to post questions and comments as we go. Make sense? Okay. I had to think and pre-plan how I would create this class environment for you. This is not winging it. In fact, when I got to this section in my lesson plan, I had to go back over the whole thing again, and it took me an extra 20 minutes to ensure that my class environment was conducive to your learning. But I think I did a good job. Leave me a comment if you agree. Am I going too fast? Or just the right speed? The other thing I want you to think about when you work with kids, is it far better for them to make mistakes in your class with you as a guide and safety net than for your students to make mistakes the next year or after graduation? Please understand this one concept. Real life has no answer key. Real life is full of uncertainty. Do not set your students up to think that people have the answers in life, because none of us do. When you teach by giving students information and then test them on that information, it sets up a false idea of life. How does this lesson accomplish that? I believe I achieved that because it's not important if they remember the names, the dates, and the locations that led to the 19th Amendment. What is important to me and to this lesson is that students understand that making societal change is really hard, but that it can be done. But there are things that need to happen, and if they don't think about what needs to happen first, nothing will ever change in society. Also, I want students to get that the 19th Amendment was adopted in the 20th century. That means what changes or amendments might get passed in the 21st century. Can believe we made it. I'm actually surprised. The last element, differentiation of instruction. Whoa, Nelly. one of the most confusing parts for teachers. Let's make this very simple. So far, you have done a great job. You've been creating this lesson plan with me. What is differentiation of instruction? Very simply, we want to use 3 separate learning styles to convey section 1. Let me show you. The first learning style is the audio style. I will tell you the objective in class. So class, today we are going to learn about the 19th Amendment. I want you to understand why the 19th Amendment is important to you. I'm going to have you divide into 3 groups to learn about the 19th Amendment, and each group is going to read about people that lived during this time. And I want you to really understand what they believed, because then I want you to write a speech about what you think about the 19th Amendment as a person in your group living during that time. Did that make sense? What I did was speak the objective and the activities. I outlined what the students would do. Now the visual learning style. The easiest way to do this is to write everything on the board or to provide a printed copy to students. It should state the lesson objective at the top and then step-by-step instructions for the students for the activity. Last, the kinesthetic learning style. Kinesthetic refers to hands-on. So I would want to use some props. I would like a copy of the Bill of Rights and let the students who learn best kinesthetically to actually hold the Bill of Rights or other documents so they can understand what they mean in relation to the 19th Amendment. So when I say that we will break into 3 groups, I might move my seat to one part of the room, showing the students that they will be moving around. I hope all of that made perfect sense. If it did, put a comment down below. Yes, I get differentiation of instruction. I actually want to hear from you if you got that, because this element is by far the toughest one for most teachers. I have probably read and reviewed over 10,000 lesson plans in my career. Guess what? You have completed 1 full lesson plan. I know that was a lot to unpack. If you have more questions, write them below and I will answer them on YouTube. If I see there were some big gaps, I will make supplemental videos to help you out. Since you did a great job, I am going to deliver on my promise. Do you think this lesson plan that you just wrote is worth $1,000? Maybe it is. Beginning January 4th, 2021, you can find out if your lesson plan is good enough to win the Best Lesson Plan Award in North America. That's because starting on January 4th, the Challenge Awards are officially here. The Challenge Awards is the first awards program dedicated to recognizing teachers' skill in lesson plan writing. This is the first awards program to focus on lesson planning. From all the submissions, the awards will select a top 10 list and then a final award winner. The top 10 shall also receive $250 prize, and the first prize is $1,000 and bragging rights to call yourself the best lesson plan writer in North America. If you want to submit your lesson plan, follow the link in the description below for the Challenge Awards. I want to thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you learned something here and want more teaching videos like this one. This is D. Scott Schwartz, signing off.